Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining the Main Street webinar today. The topic for today is youth engagement, and I'm actually going to hand it over to Allie Carson, the Main Street intern, who will be leading the webinar today.
Yes, hello. Thank you for coming on today. We have youth engagement, which is a super exciting topic. And we hear you guys talk a lot about it, and so we're really excited to bring you some community success stories from some of our community partners and community members who have kind of found their own way of cracking the code to getting youth involved. So today we have Dave Langang he's from the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber EDC. He's a community growth director there, and he's going to be sharing with us some programs that they use to engage youth in the workforce. And then we will also have Lindsay Ulrichsen from Service Basin Planning Council, who is going to share with us a project that's in process, but she's really passionate about it. So I'm super excited to hear her share her process with you guys. But with that, I think we will jump right in because we have lots of material to cover, and I'm sure you guys will have lots of questions because the material is going to be that good. So Dave, if you want to hop on. You can take it.
Perfect. So again, thanks so much to Emily and Allie for having us to talk about youth engagement, something that we're all very passionate about. I think it's something that altruistically brings our community together, but it's something I individually am very excited to talk about from the Chamber EDC's perspective. So we have three main focuses, and I should preface that we have a continuum of leadership because, let's face it, we want these young individuals, as they develop and progress through their life, to become our professionals, our leaders in the community as well. So we try to keep a pulse on these individuals who are able to successfully track through these programs and see if we can maybe even identify some for future roles in public office and whatnot. But as you can see on the screen there, I kind of have them laid out in steps. We really hit them hard and young with Lemonade Day, Bismarck-Mandan. It's a fantastic program that we'll get into in a little bit, but it just really revolves around those young entrepreneurs. Then we hit those students again in high school with our Student Leadership Network, our juniors and seniors. And then we actually engage high schoolers and college and university students with our Job Shadow Week. So that'll be a little bit of what we're discussing today from the Chamber EDC perspective. So with Lemonade Day Bismarck-Mandan, we just wrapped up our third year, and this is actually already dated material because though we had 560 young entrepreneurs register for the program and participate, I actually just got an email yesterday from someone with Camp Adventure, the summer school camp for students in Bismarck-Mandan area, and they're going to take on an extra 100 kits. So there's another 100 kids that we're going to be accessing in Bismarck-Mandan with this amazing program. So 660 young entrepreneurs for Lemonade Day 2019. So what is Lemonade Day? It's an entrepreneurial initiative that pairs up area youth with responsible mentors like all of you on the phones right now, teaching them how to create and operate their own business in the form of that lemonade stand. The program is free based off the sponsorships we're able to garner because it is a national program. It's about 12 years old. It all began with a young lady asking her dad for a pet turtle, and dad wasn't going to just give her what she wanted. He wanted her to work and earn it. So she put together a lemonade stand and didn't really go the way she had hoped, but with dad's entrepreneurial experience, they put this plan together, made the plan, worked the plan, and achieved their dreams. So she was able to get her turtle, but this got dad's process thinking, well, hey, if I created a program, how many more kids can we impact? So they're not just pulling at mom and dad's pockets asking for money to buy things. They can earn it and feel more accomplished. So like I'd mentioned, step one, when they get the packets with this free program, they sign up online and they go to one of our pickup locations or the Chamber EDC and they grab a yellow bag full of all sorts of goodies. In that yellow bag, we've got some sponsored gifts, whether it's a cup to drink your lemonade or a mixing cup to mix your lemonade. We've also got a workbook that's disguised as an activity guide for the young entrepreneurs and their mentors. And through that process in that activity guide, you'll see on the screen here, we go through steps. So step one is setting that goal. You got to know where you're heading, so you got to set those goals now. Spending goals, saving goals, sharing goals, learning goals. Going to step two, they activate that plan, or they make the plan to accomplish those goals. So, they need to find the money. Mom and dad are there, and they're always a safe bet typically. But what if their mentor isn't mom and dad? Maybe it's aunt and uncle, or maybe it's a business professional in the community themselves. That could be their investor or the business professional that helps them create that business plan. Together, they select a safe stand location, because these young entrepreneurs can set up shop outside their front door or on a street somewhere, but we want them to take advantage of the dealings with business. So can they partner with another business downtown or around the area, like Sky Zone or even Comic Realms or Target, Kirkwood Mall? This year we had 3 or 4 teams set up inside Kirkwood Mall, which I always think is a safe bet in North Dakota, because let's face it, the weather is not always the best when we want it to be, especially on amazing days like Lemonade Day. So if it keeps them out of the wind, it keeps them out of the rain, being inside is a great business choice by these young entrepreneurs to have a safe stand location, because the location shouldn't be just safe for our young entrepreneurs, but for our customers, or else they're not going to want to stop. They develop their lemonade, so they test the product. They realize what they're putting into the cups, so they know how much to charge, and realize how many cups they have to sell to get to their spending, saving, and sharing goals. And then they build their stand, advertise, and budget with the help of their investor/business partner. After they've made that plan, they know where they're heading and how they're going to get there. They start getting to work. They call people. They call those safe stand locations, seeing if they can partner. They manage employees, because absolutely there are young entrepreneurs who employ their friends or siblings to work for them on that day. And that just makes the business experience all the more real. So they manage their employees, or they manage their partners, and then they send out communications, again, with the help of those investors or business partners. This year we saw people creating Twitter accounts and Facebook accounts and Facebook events for their lemonade stands, which is amazing when these kiddos are able, with the help of a responsible mentor, utilize the social media and the free branding that's available at our fingertips. And then step 4 is as simple as achieving their dreams. It's very rare that we get a disappointed kid on Lemonade Day, because a lot of the times when we talk to them about, hey, if you were going to start a lemonade stand today, how much money do you think you would make? It's amazing that they usually throw out I think I made $10 last time in front of my house. If I could make $20, that would just be awesome. I'll tell you what, folks, the amazing thing about Lemonade Day is, on average, over 3 years now, the kiddos who have participated and followed the activities from step 1 to the end have averaged a $200 $200 profit takeaway at the end of the day. So what do they do with that money? We all go to work so that we can reward ourselves and buy ourselves some things when we're not paying for bills and food. So we always encourage them, save up for a bike, or save up for summer camp, or whatever it is. Buy yourself something. But we also encourage them through this process to save some for the future and to give back to the community. So the fact that some of these young entrepreneurs, these kindergartners or 3rd to 8th graders, are learning about philanthropy, which is something I couldn't even spell when I was 18 years old, is a fantastic thing. So that's a quick shot at Lemonade Day. We had a fantastic year. Again, we're already planning for year 4. And at the Chamber EDC, if anyone is ever curious on how they can be a part of Lemonade Day, whether as a mentor or volunteer, you can contact myself or Shay Peterson in our office, and we can get you hooked up somehow, because there's a place for Lemonade Day for everybody, whether you're a sponsor, a mentor, participant, however it goes. I guess before I move on, does anybody have any questions about Lemonade Day? Okay.
Hey, Dave, I have a question. This is Emily.
Yes. Yeah, Emily.
Sounds like you're able to get a lot of young entrepreneurs involved. How actively do you have to advertise and recruit people to participate in Lemonade Day?
It's a fantastic question. So we have some fantastic partners, because we try to stay a little true to the traditional methods of getting out there. Because there's a lot of mom and dads who still watch the news. We partner with KFYR, West Dakota Fox, and they help shoot a commercial for us that we can put out to the community. And then we also partner with Town Square Media and Hot 97.5, because we'd like to hit those parents while they're on the drive to school or from school picking up those little ones. So as much as we try to sell this program to the kiddos, let's face it, kids are never shy about saying, hey, yeah, I'll put this together and make some money. It's all about making sure the parents are on board, because we know at some point mom and dad are going to help, or the guardian is going to have to help. whether it's transporting the young entrepreneur to get from here to there, or they're the business partner and they're helping do everything. We know that they're going to be involved. So we try to make sure that they understand the program so they don't think that they're just getting sold on another, something that the Chamber EDC is just pushing out to them and they get to walk away with it stock free. Because though we use those methods on TV and radio, we don't follow up with them besides with emails with tips and tricks. So when they take the packet, they sign up and they take the business kit and walk away, it's really up to them on how successful they want themselves and the young entrepreneur to be. But I will say, Emily, the two most impactful ways we've been able to reach audiences or the community is A, we keep our ears and fingers really close on the pulse of Bismarck Mandan when it comes to summer and spring events, ones that we can participate in. So ones that we've been part of the last 3 years are like the Later Gator consignment sales. At the last day of that, they have like a community event for anyone from a martial arts studio to Lemonade Day to Gateway to Science. Come and set up, and I think we pay a nominal fee just to be there. But then we get access to 1,000+ individuals to talk about Lemonade Day. So though TV and radio are great, we need to communicate the message of what Lemonade Day is and how impactful it is to that individual's kiddo for them to really sign up. Because we need the mentor to sign them up with that email so we can account for both the kit, the young entrepreneur, and have a way of contacting them in case we've got some cool stuff with Lemonade Day going on. We try to have some engaging things like a best tasting contest towards the end of the program, and then we also have a kickoff event that's pretty successful in getting initial signups. We held that at Sky Zone this year. If I had another tip out there, when it comes to promotion on anything, whether it's an event, whether it's a program like Lemonade Day, I would consider Facebook advertising. We've been able to put no more than a budget of $125 in boosted posts to Lemonade Day, and I would wager one of my paychecks that we've gotten a majority of our signups off of exposure on Facebook. We can't directly track that, but I can see the people who are liking the posts or interacting with it, and then I can see when they signed up on the registration sheet, and it can kind of correlate when they liked the post and when they signed up. So we've seen some great turnaround on that as well.
Interesting. That's really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions on Lemonade Day?
Dave, you may have said it, so I apologize if you did already, but what is the target age group for this program?
Yeah, great question. So the program is targeted mostly towards 3rd to 8th graders, just because they're right in that mental maturity stage to understand the financial aspects. However, I would say that there is a great chunk of our participation is kindergartners and 1st and 2nd graders as well. They probably require a little bit more help from mom and dad or the mentor than the 3rd to 8th graders do. But that being said, those kids are some of the most successful because who can turn down a glass of lemonade when you've got such cute little eyes asking you if you want to buy a cup, right? So, and to that as well, when I say we've had 660 people signed up, a lot of those are teams. Like I mentioned, the employees and the partners. When we look at how they're managing their lemonade business themselves, those individuals, there might be a team of anywhere from 1 to 6 or more operating one business, because those could be a Boy Scout troop or Girl Scout troop. It could be brothers, sisters, siblings all helping each other. It could be a band of friends saving up so they could all go to the movies together. Who knows? We've seen all sorts of dynamics. And the most popular and favorite one I ever saw was year 2, where there was a little girl. She had the cheapest lemonade in Bismarck, Mandan. I think it was lemonade was 25 cents, but she charged you $5 to pet the goat that she had at the stand. And that's where she was making her money, because people were first stopping to wonder, why was there a goat on the side of the road? Then they had to buy lemonade from this cute little girl. And then, of course, when she said, I'll give you the lemonade for free if you pet my goat, it was just, these kids are learning about upsells and add-ons, which I think are fantastic. Does that answer the question about age range?
Yes, thank you so much.
You bet. Any other questions? Awesome. Feel free to chime in anytime you think of one for it. So our student chamber program, or more recently turning into our Student Leadership Network, is a program that's geared towards juniors and seniors from area private and public high schools. It's been a program going on since 2004, and from then they only started off with, I want to say it was maybe 8 students that they accepted into the program. Well, the program has blown up with so much applicants every year that we now accept 18 students, and that's our cap, because more than 18 gets a little hard to manage. Not that the kids are hard to manage, but getting into certain locations and speakers and all that stuff, which I'll dive into in a minute, that's where the management portion comes in. So before I get any further into the student chamber, our local chamber of commerce just recently went through a bit of a branding and name change as we merged with the local BMDA, or the Economic Development Association. It was the Bismarck-Mandan Development Association. They're now we've married, and we're one big happy family in one roof, and we are now the Bismarck-Mandan Chamber EDC. So that being said, when our student chamber were going through this last year's program, all 18 of them were like, well, student chamber just doesn't really fit anymore. Should we add student chamber EDC? Well, then there was a lot of them that just felt like that didn't roll off the tongue as well, and the students weren't an economic development corporation, which is what EDC stands for. So we started this little in-house branding project with the students and myself, trying to search and find for a good name that really summed up what they are and what they hope to accomplish in their time. And Student Leadership Network is what they dove into, and as we go through the program quickly, I'll show you how they landed on that. So Student Chamber, or the Student Leadership Network, as it is going to be called coming up here, is a program that goes through 8 months. Starts in October and finishes in April. And in between there, we've got 6 issue days that I meet with these students for only 2 hours at a time, which is never enough time with these kiddos, where we investigate certain topics. So as you can see on the screen there, we usually start things off with our orientation in October, and then in November, we go to our financial literacy day. That is a day that we usually hold with either a financial sponsor of the program or someone who's really close in the financial field, who can talk to the kids more than about FAFSA and student loans and all that, because by this point, they're starting to get all that crammed down their throats. So what we try to bring to their life is budgeting investments for their future, because if they can't budget in this time of their life, when they get into college, it's going to be even more difficult. I can speak from personal experience from that. We had no financial literacy programs besides business classes when I was going through high school at the time. And sure, I learned how to balance a check, but I didn't know how to put money back into that account to keep balancing the check. I just kept spending the money. So the budgeting process, we learned from professionals about how to save for certain things, how to account for your day-to-day living so that you can spend on the fun things in life. You can keep buying gas and going out and whatnot. And this is imperative when they start stepping into the college years, because they don't have mom and dad to help manage their financial balances and whatnot. It's really up to them. And they're already dealing with so many other responsibilities out of the gate, living on their own, managing classes and studies by themselves. So we want to try to get them prepared for the financial side. And we even throw in things like investments, because we hear it now as employees that you should jump into your 401k as soon as possible, or your Roth IRA, whatever it is. If we look back, if some of us later in our careers can look back and say that, man, I was super excited to hear this information when I was 17 and 18, and I started a 401k right away, where would you think, or how much money do you think you'd have in your account right now? And that's what we want these kids to start doing. We don't want them to start wasting or throwing their money away at things like investments, but we want them to know about the options, and that they don't have to be at an organization for a year to access a 401k. They can go to a bank or a financial advisor and get one through them. So not that we're trying to always tote other business, just trying to make sure that these students know that there's opportunity for them. So that's just an example of financial literacy, but as you can see there, Health Day, Business and Economic Development, Law and Politics, that's a day we usually spend at the Capitol. And we're usually very grateful to have a half day or full day, depending on if there's session, like there was this last year. Having legislative session, we'll spend a full day up there with a chance to meet the governor, sit on the floor, meet other senators and representatives, so they can get a grander scope of the unique legislative process that North Dakota has and no other state does. And then I would say the most engaging one that we did bring in this year was our March meeting, a community leadership and engagement. We've got a couple students that, they can join in junior year, and if they apply for senior year, they can be in for both years. We had a couple students that were so enthralled by the Law and Politics Day their junior year that as they head into a political season with voting and all that stuff, one of them actually became the campaign leader for a Democratic Senate race, and the other one became a leader in the Republican race for a senator as well. So these 17 and 18-year-olds were brave enough to jump into a political minefield that I wouldn't want to touch with a 10-foot stick, because they're following passions at this age, and they've got encouragement from our community, which sets us apart from other places around the nation. Supporting and encouraging these young entrepreneurs and leaders to start taking these roles now rather than encouraging them later in life has been fantastic to see from my personal stance. So on that day, we sat them in front of city commissioners, park board, school board, legislative, all of that, for a roundtable. Like, if you can think of what speed dating is, they get time sessions at a roundtable discussion, and then when the buzzer dings, they've got to go to the next one, which they groaned at because they never had enough time with each table. And that tells you something. At the end of the year, when we had evaluations, the students were like, Dave, we just didn't have enough time, which means that they're hungry for this advancement, hungry for professional development, hungry for engagement. So we know we're doing the right thing on days like this when they're asking for more. It's the perfect sort of buffet. So that's Student Chamber, or Student Leadership Network in a whole. After they went through that year and we were doing our closing retreat and graduation, I kind of followed up after the whole year. We talked about, some kind of buzzwords about the group and what they thought, and we threw up some names on the whiteboard, and Student Leadership Network is what they landed on. And I think it fits pretty well, considering some of the individuals that are going through the program and now stepping into Bismarck Mandan's greater theater as professionals, leaving high school and entering college, or even starting their own business right away. So there's a couple pictures of our Student Chamber kids. Off the bat, look like normal high school students. But when you get to read some of the information they provide on their application, what they're doing right now, what they do in their free time, it's not the conventional things like you think, like, 4-H and FFA and all those things are still alive and they're still doing that. But these kids are starting nonprofits. There's a student on the bottom picture all the way to the right in the white coat. She started a nonprofit to help homeless folks, just simply clothing them and feeding them. Well, we've got a lot of programs going on in Bismarck Mandan, but the fact that somebody of her age saw that and initiated it, it just blows me away. She's not waiting to learn how. She's just doing it. And that's the caliber of the students. We've got anyone who just does auto mechanics in class and wants to do a little bit of debate, to somebody who's got the full range of academic accolades in that group. So fantastic bunch of kiddos. Any questions on Student Leadership Network or Student Chamber? Okay.
Dave, this is Lindsay Ulrichs, and I was waiting just to give someone else a chance because I have a ton of questions.
You bet, yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been with the Chamber for 3 years.
Okay, and have they been doing the Student Leadership Network for that period of time too?
Since 2004, so it's been about 15 years.
Okay, that's awesome. And when, oh gosh, this just seems really, really like a cool opportunity. When you're meeting with the students, do you have attendance requirements or anything like that, or do you get pretty good attendance, or is it difficult to get everybody in the same room at the same time?
Yes. All of that's a yes. So no attendance requirements, only because I'm not going to add any extra element of pressure to these kiddos, to these students, than they have already got. With the other academic stuff that some of them might have, they know that there are other individuals itching for this opportunity, so it's amazing how they kind of hold their own and hold themselves accountable and making sure they're there so that they don't squander somebody else's opportunity to be in that or to be in the group. So no, we don't have that. When somebody's unable to show up, the kids have been fantastic about communicating. And this has been the whole 3 years I've been here. I provide them the opportunity to text me, call me, email me, Facebook message me, whatever is easiest for them. Let me know. Make sure it's not 5 minutes before the meeting, If anything, let me know that morning or as soon as you can if you can't make it or if you're going to be late, because the last thing I want is a kid to not show up and not know why, because I'm a dad. I've got my own kids. I get nervous. I get to know these kids very well, and when one of them doesn't show up and I don't know about it, I get very nervous to where I will, if I don't hear from them or they don't respond back, I will call their parents just to make sure, or I'll call the school first to make sure that I didn't miss anything there, and then I'll call the parents just to make sure everything's okay. Never trying to rat anybody out, just want to make sure that the kids are good to go.
Absolutely.
And yeah, they do a great job of showing up. If there's ever an attendance mark, it's because they've got something else going on for school.
Okay. So what is the relationship with the chamber and the school? I assume they're very supportive of this, and can you talk a little bit about that relationship?
Yeah, that's a relationship that was forged long before my time, and it's a program that's just evolved, and both Mandan and Bismarck Public Schools are fantastic about supporting it. Haven't heard anything from the school system as far as, hey, we don't like this, or hey, we love this, although I'll be getting that feedback here soon because I'm going to try to push for my little 2-hour sessions to go to at least 3 hours, if I can. What the waves that we've hit and crashed against is communication to the students is hard. Like getting this to the schools and then having the schools communicate this to the students is nigh impossible, because it comes in the form of either flyers that they get. A lot of the students, they have their own email account. They might get that email to them, but they just either don't read it or delete it. Or it comes in the form of like an after-school message over the intercom, and they're ready to get out of class and not even listening at that time. So what I have been able to do in my 3 years is forge relationships with a lot of the business counselors and teachers, whether it's social studies teachers, business teachers, counselors, etc. I've got like a little group of individuals that I send these out personally, because they've always got students in mind that they want to hand this off to and say, you should apply. But I still do my best to give it the grander scope. So we've done even Facebook pushes to moms and dads at a certain age range that would have kids, just so they can share that with them, because we don't want anyone to come back after the event and say, I didn't know you guys did this. I would have loved my kid to have been a part of it. So we do what we can to get the word out on social media, through teachers, and through Bismarck Mandan Public Schools. Any other questions on Student Leadership Network? And I mentioned private and public schools. We have students from anywhere up as far as Dakota Adventist Academy, whatever, good 10, 12 miles north of Bismarck, and then Shiloh, all the Light of Christ, St. Mary's, all those as well, along with our Mandan and Bismarck Public Schools. So, okay. Last but not least from us, we've got our Job Shadow Week. And one thing I will preface right off the bat is, though we highlight job shadowing through a certain week, into February, beginning of March, the Chamber EDC can and will provide job shadow experiences for anyone who's interested any time of the year. We have the resources to connect with business professionals in our membership. We're not going to squander that in the vein of being able to hook up, whether it's a student in high school, college. We've even had other business professionals want to shadow other business professionals, and we've been able to accommodate that. So that can happen any time of the year. Now, that being said, Job Shadow Week, as I'd mentioned, takes place between February 25th and March 1st. We have a preliminary sign-up for employers, to where we blast out in our communications, again, through all of our normal social media, email, and other channels, to all of our membership saying, if you've got anyone in your organization or multiple people in your organization who would love to have a job shadow, please go here and sign up and give us your availability. And someone like myself or any of you on the line here are able to go online and quickly pick a day or multiple days and lay down the timelines that you're available. You're able to sign up for one job shadow, 2 job shadows, 3, however many you would like. And then the next process goes to the students. We engage the same channels that we do for our student chamber, and even more. We try to get in there and do presentations if we can for certain teachers, just to get the kids to sign up. They have their choice of industries, organizations, times, and dates to choose when to be a job shadow. So there's really this good melding of schedule when it works properly. But Sometimes it's us Midwesterners aren't always the greatest at trying to commit to something right away. So sometimes it's always those last-minute deals that come through when it comes to scheduling and whatnot for the kids or the students and the job shadowees, if you will. But yeah, it takes place during that week. We have a lot of great interaction from kiddos, and then what we are developing through that process are some statistics. We know that our needs for 2020 going in are nursing and medical. That's the very, very top. Skilled trades like your constructions and stuff like that, and then photography, believe it or not, are needs. More and more events and organizations are hiring photographers or looking for someone in-house to take care of the digital side of things. The top industries we have in Bismarck, Mandan right now are nursing, medical, engineering, and aviation, which is kind of a diverse field there. But when you look at the top industries versus the needs for 2020, you can kind of see where those changes are going to happen. Employers registered for Job Shadow Week, you can see we've got a trend going up as we've got a workforce need or issue we're trying to solve. You can tell the entire, teachers and students and employers alike are trying to get behind this issue to support it. So from 2018 to 2019, you've seen a rise in both Job Shadow employee registration and student participation as well. And that's all I've got from our side. You can see some contact information there. Lemonade Day Student Leadership Network, those are in my bag, so you can contact me. Emails on the screen, always feel free to give me a shout and call me. And then Jamie Sabat, she's our Workforce Development Coordinator. She manages our Job Shadow Week in particular. But if you're looking for that job shadow any time of the year, you can pretty much reach out to any of us here at the Chamber EDC, and we'll be able to hook you up.
So we actually just kicked this off at the beginning of this summer, what we're calling Champions of Change. So really quickly, you can get more information and see who some of our partners are on our website at servicebasin.org/Champions of Change. And I can have Emily share that too. So what you see in front of you, this is my entire PowerPoint. It's just photos of our participants. And I just wanted to do that for a few reasons. One, we're just kind of getting started. So I have a few photos of some of our gatherings and things we've done, but I just wanted to kind of keep them at top of mind while we're visiting about this. So we started this, it's kind of a pilot study to empower youth and, also how do we as adults and community members learn how to engage young people to be a bigger part of the community and a bigger part of community decision making. And we also want to help teens build the capacity to lead the change that they want to see. And so we have these lovely 5 teens as our team. We also have an adult advisory team made up of 6 members. And we received a little bit of funding from National Art Strategies, and we've been fundraising this went from a $5,000 project to a $15,000 project. The more we collaborated with others, the bigger the idea got and the more excited everyone got. So, which means, the bigger budget. So we are going to be documenting this process with some videographers and some filmers. They're interviewing the students at our meetings and they're spending some time with all of the girls. And we are also going to be designing a mural for somewhere in downtown Minot. That piece is we really love the idea of infusing, arts into this. So we think it can be really therapeutic and it can really share a message and give a feeling of community. And so with our programming, when we're having meetings with the students, we are introducing them to change makers from all over North Dakota. And all of our programming that we're doing is based on discussions that we're holding. We don't have pre-planned topics, so it's a little bit, it's really outside of my comfort zone because I'm a planner. I want to have things really outlined and I want to know exactly what I'm coming up against, but I didn't want to design the programming if it wasn't meaningful for the participants. So we are creating our programming based on each discussion that we hold. And so kind of our timeline and goals, we're doing this throughout the summer. That was the initial plan. And then the documentary and a findings report will be completed in the fall. So the documentary we'll be sharing with everyone. It'll just be a brief, maybe 5 to 7 minute video on the process, the meetings that took place, and really what are these young people thinking? What do they want? What are they passionate about? So our goals tied to this, we have some pretty hefty goals. We want to answer the two questions that we all hear in meetings all the time. What do we have to do to get young people to stay in our community and not leave? And how do we get young people involved in the community? We also want to find ways to provide a new pattern where communities are working together across generations. And we want to have, I guess, as an adult and as a parent, I want to have a clear understanding of what creates that sense of place and community for these young people. So what we're hoping is at the end of this, it is right now these students are from Minot, but we want to reach across borders, share opportunities and information, and share some programming with our rural communities that we serve as well, so that we can expand inclusion of young people as a part of all of this decision making. And we actually have only met a couple of times so far. We have about 8 or 9 meetings scheduled this summer. And I too, like Dave, we have 2 hours together at any given time. All of the meetings we've had have actually spilled over into more like 2.5 to 3 hours. And only because the girls are there and they're willing to continue the discussion. And so I don't require anyone to stay longer, but we don't stop the conversation if it's really great. And so I can already tell that we are not going to have enough time together, to be able to finish that. But so the girls actually, our initial thought on this was to just do it throughout summer so that when their school activities start again and those responsibilities begin, we won't be adding to their plate, but they want to continue through the school year with some maybe teens only events and service projects and things like that. So they're really excited about all of this, and it's exciting and kind of scary for me too, because this is my first jump into this realm. But it's really, really inspiring to be around them. So some of the challenges and obstacles that we're up against, our initial obstacles was funding. We just recently got all of our funding covered to cover expenses for meals and space, and when we invite people to come and speak with the girls, we provide a really small stipend for them as well to cover any expenses associated with travel or what have you. So that was one of our initial obstacles. Another obstacle was that we set this target of we're going to have 10 students, and those are going to be our champions of change, and we had 7 kids apply. We did Facebook and Instagram paid advertisements and things like that. We, for the 2 teenagers that I actually know personally, I asked them to share the information with their friends as well, and we just got these 7 applicants, and so we made the best of it, and we said we're going to take what we can get. 7 is a much more manageable group. It's hard to schedule things, and it ended up we had 2 who had really significant scheduling conflicts all throughout the summer. So in the end, we have 5 participants, but they're really, really great. And the fact that we have 5 instead of 10, it really gives everybody the opportunity to share and to be really open and to really be in the moment when we're having those discussions. So. The other initial obstacle is that we were really hoping for a really diverse group of folks, and as you can see, we have all females, and we don't have any people of color, but we're looking at that as this is a great opportunity for us to discuss diversity and inclusion, and how can we expand on that, and how can we be better about inclusivity. And so we'll be working on that with the girls. So some ongoing obstacles is scheduling conflicts. I have yet to have everybody in the same room at the same time. It's just really, really difficult. A lot of them are in other various activities, sports, and as you can see, we have Miss Outstanding Teen, Miss Minot Outstanding Teen 2019 as well, and so she has a lot of other commitments as well this summer. So we're making the best of it. It has not been a big deal to not have everyone in the same room at the same time. We've also done video calls and things like that too. My biggest obstacle, I guess, with this, because we are just getting started and it's new and people say, well, what is this? And it's really difficult right now because it is a pilot. It's a pilot study to see if, what would work or what can we do within our community. And so not being able to give someone a roadmap to say, here's what this is and completely define this. It's difficult for some people to go, well, God, what are you guys actually doing? And I don't really get it. And so, for me, staying the course when I'm getting pulled into a lot of different directions and people saying, well, but what are you actually going to do? And, you don't want to just say that you had a bunch of meetings and you don't want to, you want to be able to say that you accomplished something in the end. And I guess for me, I want to stay focused and I want to stay patient with the process. When we're starting a new program, we have to have different expectations. This is an experiment. It's not established yet. So I'm trying to work within those terms, but also to get other folks to collaborate with you. Sometimes they need that roadmap. So I'm trying to work within those confines, but being really patient with the process and letting it unfold into whatever it is going to be. I don't want to define it for the youth. It's not up to me. I want them to define it, and help build what Champions of Change is going to be. So also, I really think it's important to keep in mind that when we are having these meetings, a big goal of ours is just to help them build their own internal capacity to drive change in the community and, create that understanding that change can be really difficult. But you've got to get a team of people behind you to help you and things like that. So it's not like we're, quote unquote, just having meetings. We are building the capacity and hoping to, broaden and open their minds to, some things that they've not thought of or not considered, and really kind of defining for themselves what's important to them, what are their personal values. So my current findings and thoughts after meeting with several of them, 3 times total, teens are actually more like us adults than what I maybe originally assumed. They really like to have food at meetings, just like we do, and they really want to be listened to. I think like each one of us, when we're in a meeting, we want people to listen to us and to respect, show us respect and provide us with trust. And they want that as well. Young people want that too. So they're no different than we are. Young people have, these girls in particular have this unleashed energy. They are not tired. They're not burned out. They are ready to go at any time, and they have some great ideas, and they're never overwhelmed. If I would put a list of 15 service projects in front of them and say, let's get this done this year, that would not be overwhelming for them at all, even though all of them have some pretty significant responsibilities, at school and at home and with their extra activities. So I think young people are an untapped resource for volunteers and for fundraising and things like that for nonprofit organizations. So we should definitely be looking to teens to help us with more of those activities. I'm really finding that if I look at this as, the whole purpose is to elevate teens, elevate their voice, and bring them into decision making and driving change. But really, it's no different than when we are trying to build relationships with our peers or with other adults or our colleagues. It's all based on creating this foundation of trust and respect. And I think that if we look at it that way, it kind of makes it a little bit easier. And instead of, I think young people get written off a lot of times where, maybe in the first meeting they're not making very much eye contact. So, we might initially jump to this conclusion that they're disrespectful, they're not paying attention, they're not listening to me. But really, they're nervous. This is new for them, and they maybe don't have the same types of meeting experiences that we have all had as adults. And so I think taking that time to build trust with the participants and with the students. It's the same thing we would do with other adults that we are also trying to build a relationship with. So another big takeaway for me already is that it takes a village for us to do all of this. We have a ton of partners that are working with us and collaborating with us, which kind of takes on, it's kind of its own animal to collaborate with everyone. It's a lot of moving pieces, and it's a lot of people or organizations to kind of, I don't want to say, I'm going to say keep happy, but there's a lot of people who want to tie their own goals into things like this too. But I think it's really good. It's where everyone's invested. Everyone's really thankful to be a part of it. And so on our website, we have a list with logos and links to websites of our partners on this. And for the majority of our partners are not financial contributors. They are contributing their time, they're contributing some space maybe, or they're contributing, they're donating food and drinks and snacks and things like that for our meetings. So, but everyone just seems to be really, really happy to just be a part of it. So I think that's really good momentum for us. There's a lot of folks out there who want to elevate our youth. So I'm also learning that clear communication is key, both with the adults and the youth. We're trying to create this co-collaboration, this across generations of, let's let the young people teach us as adults, and we can kind of have this co-mentorship opportunity. But creating that those clear lines of communication with the adults and with the youth, and then also properly communicating what the expectations are for everyone is really, really important. Some questions, I guess, that I have in my mind as I keep moving through this is, are we as community members, as adults, as maybe educators, are we truly interested in engaging the youth in our community and meeting them where they are, or do we want to just get them involved so that we can say, this is how you should feel and this is how you should think and things like that? So I just want to, that's just, I'm trying to be very, very mindful that I don't take over this process and turn it into something that I think we should do, and truly let them form their thoughts and identify their own values and things like that, and not try to instill my personal thoughts or our organization's thoughts on them. We just want to create a learning opportunity for them, and each one is going to have different takeaways, I think. So I think we just have to be, as community members, we have to be truly interested in engaging with them and wanting to hear what they have to say. If we just want them to volunteer, I think that's different than what our goals are with Champions of Change. And so I'm kind of taking a let them lead mentality. We're working on an idea for a teens only event in Minot, and they had asked me, they said, well, have you met with this person or this person yet? And I said, no, I won't be meeting with anyone without you. I can help connect you with the right people to talk to who I know can help provide some guidance and help with planning, but this is your event. This is you all need to be the decision makers on this. And so I really want to let them take the lead and tell us what it is that they want and what they need. And another thing too, this is my last kind of initial my initial thoughts on this is I have to also keep reminding myself that I can't have the same expectations for these young people as I do for my adult colleagues or my coworkers, because they don't have the experiences that we have, and I want to stay mindful of that. We can create opportunities for growth. We can teach or encourage active listening. We can teach meeting etiquette. I think kids are really, really smart. Young people are really smart. So I think, we don't have to remind them over and over and over that, hey, when you're in a meeting, just make sure that you're actively listening and that you're not distracted by something out the window or on your phone and things like that. That's something I think they'll understand, and they'll keep that at top of mind if we share that with them. And then also just kind of sharing with them the power of a written plan. That's something I hope that they learn from this as well. So that was a lot of talking, but that's kind of in a nutshell, in a brief. I wanted to keep it to about 15 minutes so that there'd be time for questions. But I know Allie and Emily could attest to this. I could talk about this all day long and brainstorm ideas and all that good stuff. So if anybody has any questions, let me know, or I'd be happy to talk about this separately as well.
Dave here. Lindsay, I just wanted to echo your sentiment as well. When we did the wrap-up with the student leadership group, when we said, what was missing from this year, what can we provide more of for you, it always came back to, if I could put a word cloud together, it would have said voices heard, their voices being heard. I had plenty of proud dad moments with my students at the law and politics day and how they handle themselves in front of certain professionals, and I'm sure you're seeing the same thing, but you're completely accurate. These kids are brilliant, in a completely different class than where me and my peers were when we were in high school. And I don't know what the element is. Must be in the water. I don't know. But their energy, as you'd said, they're not nodding off during important conversations. It's simply almost inhuman how these students are keeping up with us adults nowadays, not only just physically but intellectually as well. So I'd have to echo what you were saying. These young individuals are just very, very amazing to encounter.
Thanks, Dave. I'll just add quickly, too, that we had our very, very first meeting at the beginning of June, and 4 of our participants were there. One was not able to make it, but I remember, I started off, I was actually really nervous and really, really anxious for the meeting to start because I had no idea what was going to be in front of me. I mean, I know I read through all of their applications multiple times, and they just had the most amazing things to say and great goals, but I was still nervous. I just didn't know what to expect, and so I went into it, and I could see they were a little bit apprehensive too of who is this person and what is she about and things like that. But at the very end, and again we stayed, I think, for another 45 minutes after our scheduled time. I was packing everything up after everybody left, and everyone also was early. I didn't ask anyone to come early, but everyone was at least 10 minutes early when they came, and everyone helped me clean up afterwards, even though I told them they didn't need to do that. They were extremely polite. And when I was driving home that evening, it was a really nice sunny day, not a lot of wind, so we don't have a lot of those days. But I was just driving home and thinking to myself, just for this one day, all feels right with the world. These kids, they've got it. They've got things under control. We're all going to be okay. Even though we have some scary things that go on in the world and some things that can be very, very depressing and very worrisome and alarming, I just felt like I could take a deep breath, and for one evening I thought everything's going to be okay.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Thanks for sharing that, Lindsay. I have one last question for both Lindsay and Dave. So you both talked about organized programs that you're using to engage youth and build their capacity, involve them in leadership opportunities. But those kind of programs take a lot of time and resources. And for a lot of the smaller towns that we have engaged in Main Street Initiative, it may be really difficult for them to build a program like that. And I'm wondering if you had just like 30 seconds of advice that you could provide for what would be a good start to engaging youth in a really genuine way where they're being empowered and invited to the table to lead and share their thoughts. Maybe I'll start with Lindsay. Lindsay, if you had like 30 seconds of advice for a community that wanted to get some young people involved, volunteering or leading, sharing their ideas, what would your suggestions be?
Sure. Actually, I don't have a magical answer. I wish that I did. This is actually, it's extremely time consuming. And it might be different for Dave because they've already established their programming. But I think that the number one answer I would give is if you want to engage youth in your community, you have to start by building a level of trust with them and a level of respect where it's a mutual trust and a mutual level of respect. And then just beginning to kind of ask the question of how can you help or what can you do to get more involved in the community.
I would definitely agree with what Lindsay just said as well. The respect is a big thing. I mean, even in some of our classes that we've had with the students with certain presenters, depending on what the first 5 words are out of that presenter's mouth, you can see the body language change on students, whether or not they're going to be receptive or want to ask questions, or if they think that person just doesn't care about them in the first place either. Because let's face it, there are some adults out there who just will never have trust in anyone under 18, unfortunately. But what I would recommend to some of those smaller towns is if you even have an idea of even whatever, it could be 3, 4, 5 young individuals, have them meet, find out what they want, and then bring them to the table when it comes to asking for those things. So if they want to visit with the local mayor, then if that's one of the things, then maybe 2 or 3 of them should go with the adult to bridge that gap, to not only show the mayor as an example that, hey, it's not so scary talking to us kiddos, but also we're going to be asking you some real adult questions possibly as well. Because though we are under 18, we've got a lot of personality and a lot of curiosity in the world. And I mean, I think Lindsay kind of alluded to it earlier, but these kids want to solve a lot of the problems that either a lot of us don't want to touch the 10-foot pole or just don't want to tackle at all.